couple minutes here about our KIFA panels. Thank you so much, Cynthia. It was wonderful. KIFA is the Kent Interfaith Alliance for Racial Reconciliation and Justice. Over the last 5 months, they convened 3 panel discussions about the intersection of education and race in our local classrooms right here in Kent, Ohio. November's panel, the administrators were asked to talk about the best practices and challenges when it came to teaching about race in American history. They also spoke about the role of the community in talking about race and supporting schools. The February panel asked teachers to give their views and experiences in the classroom related to racism and discuss the benefits and challenges related to teaching racial issues and history. The April panel included mothers and children talking about their thoughts on the messages about race that children pick up in school, on social media, and from the larger community. The parents talked about how they discussed race and inequality with their children and how they empowered their children to combat racism. The members of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee watched the panels on Zoom, and anybody that could went and saw the panels in person. So I just want to give you our big takeaways. All right, so first up, the administrators. The administrators wanted to see more conversations about race between students of different races and between administrators and parents. They stressed the need to confront racism directly. Silence implies that everything's fine. They said that college education majors do learn about how to constructively engage in conversations about race in the classroom, but don't get the opportunity to put the information into practice while student teaching. Student teachers told one panelist, and keep in mind, this is Kent City Schools, right? Student teachers told one panelist that some principals and white teachers wanted them to try to be colorblind and not see race within the classroom. But we can never move forward if we don't talk. At least one white college education major didn't see the need to learn about Black history because they said they wouldn't be teaching many Black students, implying that white students or those of other races didn't need to learn about Black history and that Black history somehow isn't American history. The administrators also stated that there were not very many non-white teachers available to be hired. In other words, there's not many people of diverse backgrounds applying for jobs in Portage County, so that's a problem. All right, next up, the teachers. Teachers feel that students need to be reassured of the value of who they are because social media bombards them with negative messaging. Discussing issues like bullying and race in the classroom can help counteract that. If students are to become critical thinkers, they need to discuss current events and how history created the world and culture they live in. Don't avoid controversy in the classroom, talk about it, so students can learn to weigh different information, come to their own conclusions, and learn how to express their opinions. Parents might find some history course topics painful, but teachers need to teach the material, and students do want to learn about it. Even young students are curious about race and current events. They want to talk about controversies in the world around them. The last panel let us hear from families. One parent spoke of a group of parents, teachers, and administrators who are discussing race at Loncoy Elementary, stating that all 3 groups see value in the effort. Both parents wanted to see more group activities that included white children and children of color exploring and learning together. Mothers and children spoke of wanting to have books in the school library that have main characters of all ethnicities and races. It's not just Black children reading books about others of their own race. White children, children of any race can benefit from reading about and imagining the lives of people that are different from themselves. Reading stories about people with different viewpoints helps build empathy. And like I said, these are, Kent parents telling us this. A white mother spoke of doing the work, putting in the time, going out of her way to bring conversations about race into everyday conversation. Learn and talk to your kids, she said. Talk about anything in the current news cycle that addresses these issues. She stated that Kent schools were supportive at the elementary school level. From this panel and the others, some raised the question of different levels of progress at elementary schools, middle schools, and the high school. So not everybody agreed on how far Kent schools had come. If I had to give a short, sweet statement about the most important conclusion the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee took away from these local stories about what's happening in Kent classrooms, it's this: staying quiet or ignoring race doesn't work. It needs to be discussed out in the open. One committee member said that silencing the conversation about racism in America is a threat to our democratic society. Schools need to teach about historical missteps as well as the good things if our society is to thrive and grow stronger. Schools should present honest information about how racism has affected everyday institutions, from schools to encounters with the police, from courtrooms to banks to job and real estate markets. Schools should tell everyone's story and acknowledge different perspectives. Students need to listen to all voices to understand what's happening in the world today. Another one of our committee members said that children and preteens notice how parents and schools say one thing about accepting classmates of different abilities and races, but in the real world, there's racism, intolerance, violence, and exclusion by individuals and institutions all around them. Children wonder about the disconnect. One of the children on the panel, the family panel, talked about this. One thing that came up in all three panels, and many of our committee members commented on, is the fact that the children themselves are watching and asking questions. They want to learn more about these issues, both at home and in school. One of the children stated, this is the one that really broke my heart, one of the children stated that the same handful of names comes up during Black History Month every year. All right, Black History Month, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, they just talk about the same exact thing. One of the administrators in the first panel, I thought this was also really interesting, stated that Rosa Parks is always characterized as old and tired. She finally just got tired of it, instead of young and strategic. That she went there that day to do exactly what she did, and there was a strategy to it. All right, so like I said, there's been 3 KIFA panels. There's going to be one last one that Amy can talk about in a minute or so. But before we close up, any questions? And like I said, this is all stuff we heard at these panels right here in Kent. Any questions about the KIFA panels?
And they're recorded someplace, they can listen to them.
No. Can I address that?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Whether they're recorded.
The first 2 panels were recorded with the permission of all the speakers. That would be the administrators and the teachers. We did not record the 3rd one because we wanted children to speak. We have the recordings on a Google Drive right now. KIFA is willing to put them on a YouTube channel that we created. We are in the process, though, even though we asked for permission to record, we didn't ask for permission to make it public. So we are in the process of sending a letter to all of the panelists on the first 2 to ask if they are okay putting it on YouTube. If one of those individuals says no, then we won't be able to do it. But my feeling is that they probably will be agreeable to it.
But probably the family one never, just because.
Right, and we didn't record. Yeah. So I've told Amy that once we have the approval and the links, we can share that with the league members.
And Amy's the director of KIFA or the administrator or? Christy.
I'm Christy.
I know you,
That's
Christy.
all right.
It's been a long night.
Nancy Warlop, who's a league member, is the director. I'm one of the co-conveners, which
Okay.
means I'm one of the 2 facilitators.
Okay, yeah. So any questions about the KIFA panels?
So when will the next one be?
Unfortunately, we have 2 dates. I haven't settled on which one. It's the last week, it's the week of following Memorial Day. It'll either be the Tuesday, May 30th, or Thursday, June the 1st. And this panel is bringing together religious educators who will talk about how they incorporate discussions of race into their children's religious education programs. We have the religious education directors from the First Christian Church, the Unitarian Universalist Church. We're really pleased that Reverend Pamela Thomas Slayton of the Spellman AME Church in the historic South End has agreed to be on the panel. And she's hoping to bring along a friend who's a principal of a middle school, faith-based private school in Akron that serves predominantly African-American children, because she wants to talk about the intersection of education, race, and religion, and I guess has a lot of thought that she'd like to share with us. So we'll definitely share the information once we have that date settled, and it will be at Hobbs Hall where the previous 2 panels have been held. And hopefully we'll have permission from them to record that also.
Okay. Any other questions? I guess we can probably wrap it up, and hopefully people can come up and have time to talk with Cynthia one-on-one.
I just want to thank Cynthia one more time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think you gave us so much to think about. We also will be awake all night tonight. Thank you.